Hi everyone, I'm Yo and this is Virginia. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, knowing, caring, and loving your lady parts. So today we have a video about why am I peeing all the time, that urgency. You're doing that pee dance and you barely can get to the bathroom, as you see in this video here. Right? Or you got that key in the door and you can barely get your groceries in and you're running to the bathroom like you see in this video here. I'm gonna get a key in the door! Wait. Is this you? Well, stay tuned and we're gonna go over some tips to curb that urgency. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share with your friends and support our channel. And let's get started to talk about some tips to curb that bladder urgency. So are you tired of peeing all the time? Like you're peeing every 10 minutes or 20 minutes and it's really affecting your lifestyle, right? And you're running to the bathroom and you know where all the bathrooms are all over the place, right? Is this you? Well, I have to admit that I have a little bit of this and it is a pain in the vagina, and I'm a pelvic floor physiotherapist, and it is actually really hard to curb this habit sometimes. It is actually one of those conditions that I find as a pelvic floor physio is hard to treat. But here are some tips that could be really, really simple that can help you curb the urgency. Okay, so what is normal with respect to going to the bathroom? Well, generally, you want to go to the bathroom on a regular basis. So if you haven't drank tons and you're drinking constant amount of water over the period of the day, about every 2 to 3 hours, probably more than 2. Okay, so that is a normal frequency in terms of bladder urination. So every 10 minutes, definitely not normal. Every hour, even not normal, okay? And basically, how much liquid should you be expelling when you go to the bathroom? Well, it shouldn't be a trickle where it's like really slow sort of urine flow. It should be about, if you're counting slow seconds, about 7 seconds, 7 to 8 seconds. And if you're measuring it, it's probably about 300 milliliters to 400 at least, probably more towards 400. So if it's about 100 milliliters, probably not a normal bladder volume. That's too small. So what is a normal bladder contraction? Well, what happens is when you're drinking volumes of water, your bladder expands, right? It keeps expanding. So it reaches a normal bladder expansion. Let's say it's like this. And that triggers the brain to, okay, contract, which is called the detrusor muscle, and that muscle contracts the bladder, and you go to the bathroom, your pelvic floor muscles relax. But what happens when you have bladder urgency and you're going to the bathroom too much? Your bladder is this small when it contracts. For some reason, it's gotten into a pattern of contracting when it's this small, and it could be something I find that's actually putting some stress on the bladder and it contracts too early, or you've gotten into sort of a pattern, and that's when we're going to talk about bladder retraining. Okay, so that's the normal pattern, is expanding, and when you have bladder urgency, you're contracting when your bladder is expanded at this size, so smaller than the regular size. Okay, so one of the things that you want to look at that's pretty simple is keep track of your food and your drinks. And some of the foods that you intake or drinks are bladder stimulants, and they can contract your bladder or stimulate your bladder to contract, such as, unfortunately, coffee, caffeine, green tea, and I love my green tea, and carbonated water, acidic foods and drinks like tomatoes, pineapples. So take a look at what you're ingesting and see. So maybe keep a bit of a food diary or a bladder diary and see, okay, what am I eating? What am I drinking? When am I going to the bathroom? And am I having, like, how much volume I'm actually expelling when I'm going to the bathroom? So you can find these food and bladder diaries online. So sometimes you might want to keep track of it and you realize there's a bit of a pattern. For example, I go to the bathroom more in the morning when my life is a little bit more chaotic and urgent, and also I'm probably having some green tea, so it just goes right through my body. So that is something to be aware of. And of course, if you're at a party and you're drinking too much caffeine before, well, maybe take that down and you might find you don't have as much urgency. You can control it a little better. So that's a simple suggestion. Number 2 is I find that I am always going to the bathroom when I have a lot of urgency in my schedule. So I've got lots of things to do, like, oh, wait a second, I gotta go to the bathroom. Hold on a sec. Oh, okay, I'm back. Oh, no. Well, that is me during my YouTube videos, because I find that, okay, I got all the stuff I've got to do and my bladder's just like wanting to contract. So slow your life down, do some breathing, go to the cottage like I'm doing and do a YouTube video, right? Can't get away from it, right? So just let things calm down, right? And breathe. Sometimes just taking one deep breath really helps. And tune in to do some yoga, and there's some links in terms of my yoga videos up above or below, right? Or just breathe, just calm yourself down, do a little bit of a stretch, okay? And that'll calm down your bladder. The other thing is I find that there's an abnormal stress to your bladder, and that can be sometimes tightness. So you want to release anything that might be tight. So your hip, the muscles around your hip, because remember there's a strong connection between your hip and your pelvic floor. And if you look again at the link above, you'll see that connection there. And also just stretching out anything in your upper back too, because you want to optimize that breathing, open up the rib cage. Remember, in terms of breathing is strongly connected with the pelvic floor. Okay, so make sure you're stretching everything, your whole body generally, because everything again is connected and it can pull on your bladder, believe it or not. Instead of gulping down water, I often will just have my mug or whatever, or often my my thermos, and I'll just sip a little bit through the day, because you want to get your normal volume intake of water or fluids. Because if you think, okay, I'm not going to go to the bathroom, well, what happens is that urine becomes too concentrated, and that also can make your bladder contract. So you want to try to have your normal, what do they say, 2 liters of volume, or at least 1.5 liters, right? To make sure your urine isn't too concentrated, because that can be a stimulant to your bladder also. Keep that in mind. The other thing is that as a pelvic floor physio, I find there's a strong connection with respect to your digestive system here and your pelvic floor. Anything that's stressing the bladder is making it contract abnormally, and that can be pulling from here actually. It's amazing how much the body is connected. So what you need to do is, if you're finding that all those above suggestions aren't helping, then a pelvic floor physio can help to release structures around your body, like around your viscera, which is this area here around the organs, and the myofascia, which is the connective tissue, and release around there that it could be triggering some pull on the bladder. Ooh, it's windy and cold out here at the cottage. The other thing is doing bladder retraining. So for some reason, sometimes your bladder, it's a habitual thing. It's a habitual problem, meaning that your bladder has got used to contracting when it's this full as opposed to this full that I mentioned. So you want to train it to fill up like it normally would before it contracts, as opposed to contracting when it's this big. Okay, so that's called bladder retraining. So let's say you're going to the bathroom every 20 minutes, okay? Well, that is not normal, unless you've drank a liter of water for whatever reason, okay? So you've got to sort of assess your volume intake and decide, okay, well, yeah, of course, I've drank a liter of water and caffeine, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. But if you haven't and you're going every 20 minutes, what you want to try to do is curb that bladder schedule. So what you want to do is, if you're in a safe environment, of course, at home, well, try to distract yourself, try to breathe, la la la, sing a song. Sometimes what I do is I'm at my desk all the time because I'm like trying to get stuff done, and I do this and I kind of lift myself up and I curl my toes. Okay. So do something that distracts you so you're out of that sort of cycle. The other thing is there's acupuncture points right here that are sometimes good, and you can sort of push those, and also in your fingers. I have actually a relaxo ring, but I have it at home, and I use that sometimes on my finger, and oh, look at the ducks going by, how cute. Good morning, ducks. And I use that to distract myself and breathe, okay? And then contract the pelvic floor muscles really, really strongly. And of course, if you don't know how to contract the pelvic floor muscles, look at the link above in terms of learning how to Kegel. Because what's happening is your bladder is stimulated and it's wanting to contract sometimes involuntarily. And I know how strong it is. It's a pain in the vagina, I know it. So you got to contract your pelvic floor muscles, so they got to be strong enough to prevent you from leaking. And then do your distraction, your bladder retraining techniques, so that sort of urgency sensation goes away. And then try to extend that time. So instead of 20 minutes, it becomes 25 minutes and maybe 30 minutes, that kind of thing. The other thing is going to the bathroom at night. What is normal? So normal, they say, is 1. I actually think it's less than 1, but definitely 2 times at night. It's called Nocturia, is not normal. So again, I know it's really, really hard at night, right, to curb that. So if you're not sleeping well, that's another thing, because then you're more wakeable, and any kind of little bit of triggers on your bladder is making you go to the bathroom. So trying to encourage yourself to sleep better, sleep deeper, and try to see if that you can curb that second waking bladder trip to the bathroom, right? Try to curb that. Again, do those distracting techniques, do the bladder retraining that we talked about before. So one last thing. So you want to try to encourage your bladder to empty normally. So you don't want to be going to the bathroom every second or before you leave to go shopping, go to work, or for a run when you've already gone to the bathroom, because that just encourages your bladder to empty when it's this small versus the normal this big. Okay, so try to do that bladder retraining so you encourage that normal pattern of your bladder to empty and not empty when it's this wee small. Okay, and especially because if you know you've gone to the bathroom, you should be okay. So try to create that normal pattern. Generally, in review, if you have a lot of urgency, what you want to do is try to do some bladder retraining. One, okay, so try to increase the length of time that you have to go to the bathroom by doing distraction techniques, relaxation, right? Make sure you breathe and relax, calm your system down so you don't have that urgency anymore. Release that stress. Stretch out anything that's tight that could be potentially putting pressure on the bladder. Look at your diet. Look at any triggers in your diet, any stimulants of food that might be triggering your bladder as a stimulant to go. Maybe remove them. Remove your caffeine a little bit. I'm not caffeine addicted, so I don't understand the coffee connection, but maybe bring it down from 3 cups to 1, that kind of thing, and see if that helps. And if it doesn't help, then see a pelvic floor physio, because they have techniques that they can release these areas here and make sure everything in your body is aligned so that there's not as much stress to your bladder. And thank you everybody for tuning in on this amazing cottage day to this video about why am I peeing so much, an overactive bladder or bladder urgency. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, and hit the like button, comment below so we know which videos that you want to see, and that you can get also notified by hitting that notification bell about our videos that get released every Wednesday. And Virginia and I, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.